Thursday.
gosh, I don't know what day it is already. Off to a great start. Open set. Good to see you in the chat. Obviously, this is our first Synth Friends back in the new year, and our first Synth Friends of being in LA and being in our new space. So this is all, as always, everything's always an experiment, and we're always just doing our best to see how things go. So thank you all for being here. We're really, really excited to kick things off again and to invite a new friend in, someone who is also a Twitch streamer who we really look up to, who is really inspiring and doing really interesting stuff. And I'm so excited to get to have a chat with Austin. Obviously, we want to give a big shout out because Austin, aka OpenSet, is a Twitch streamer. So you want to give them a follow here on Twitch, first of all. And Danielle, our mod, is obviously working on the guest command, which we have in the description here today, which is going to give you access to the other places that you can connect with OpenSet. So, hey Nox, how's it going? Greetings. Good morning / afternoon, make mistakes. This is also our first time being this early in the morning, so, you know, different vibes than our evening sort of happy hour hangs for Synth Friends. Hi Gus, how's it going?
It's going well. I have an entire work day ahead of me.
He does, yeah.
I'm excited to see how that feels.
Yeah, this is all experiments in terms of like our new schedule and everything too. So thanks for bearing with us and joining us on this inaugural journey through space and time. I am going to jump into that Zoom so we can get OpenSet on this call with us. I don't really have any other business to attend to, but it is crazy seeing that this is our 41st episode of Synth Friends, and that blows my mind.
41st, eh?
41st.
Dang. It's gone fast.
And there's so many Synth Friends we still want to hang out with. So I would say the one thing that I would love to hear from everybody is just if there's somebody you want us to chat with, like feel free anytime to send them our way.
And shoot big, you know, we're Hollywood now.
We live in Hollywood now. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. All right, OpenSet, I hope you're ready for this incoming transmission. I'm gonna jump back in Zoom. Yes, you are. Okay, but I'm not, so. Okay, almost there, almost there. Vangelis is a great... Vangelis? Is it Vangelis or Vangelis?
That might be a little difficult.
All right, everybody, let's give a big Synth Friends welcome to Austin, aka OpenSet. You are on the stream. Woohoo! Audio's coming through for us. We got the guest command is working in the chat now. So we got your Twitch, your Instagram, your YouTube. Obviously, let me know if there's anything else you want us to shout out. Love it. Perfect. And that is a link in the chat, everyone, okay?
To life. to coffee.
No audio from Austin. Okay, that's so interesting because we
really?
hear it. Okay, we're gonna... Or it's super low. Okay. Oh, you're right. Okay, I think it's me. Oh, see, we're already in the fun. We're already in the fun of OBS. Okay. So I'm going to keep working on this. We've got Soundflower going. Yes, we do. And I see the channel doesn't have any level. So monitor and output. I think I figured it out.
Yeah, that's it.
I just figured it out.
That's the ticket.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your help in the chat. I still don't see it coming through here.
So
that is
now,
so frustrating. Oh, there it is. There it is. It just clicked. It just clicked.
Okay.
The Zoom and the
There we
OBS conversation needed to just like take a second. Good to go.
I feel those frustrations.
Yay!
Yay.
Well, how is your 2024 going so far?
My 2024 has started off incredibly busy, straight into finals season with my seniors. So,
Wow.
before chatting this morning, it was just 2.5 hours of Calculus 3. So
Wow.
switching
Okay.
off the analytical mind into the not thinking about vectors, not thinking about vectors.
That's so
Maybe some
crazy
vector
to me.
synthesis, but that's it.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, like that.
The schedule of seniors going into finals in January.
These are high schoolers that I'm talking about here.
Uh-huh.
So
So they're what's the cycle of how that works?
for
I'm
the North
so
Carolina schools, they go through their finals here in the middle, towards the end of January, and they start semester two at the end of January to then end that in June. It's a lot
okay.
more delayed than most people would expect.
Yeah.
We're used to thinking about the college schedule that ends right before the new
Yeah.
year and the
Yeah.
brand new and but it's offset. I don't know why, but
Yeah, that's so weird because you would think like, okay, I've had this big break. Now I have to come back to calculus to do a final. That would
exactly.
that would hurt my brain.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some students like it. They got a bunch of time to study. Others like, I forgot half of what I know while I was on vacation.
Yes, that's what I would
Yeah,
do.
that was always me.
I'm a crammer. I just love to stuff it in there and then spew it out for the test and then forget all about it.
Yep. That's the common way that it
That's
goes.
the common way. I am not taking this with me.
Wait,
beyond
he's
this.
already slated you as what kind of student you are.
Yeah, you've
Uh,
got me figured out.
that's yes, that's the most common story, and people have particular subject. That was me with French.
Yeah, I guess it would.
Mm,
It's subject by subject. Welcome in,
Mhm.
Disco Richard. I just have to say because you're a first time chat and I love your name. Thank you for the energy.
Disco Richards, another amazing musician out there.
Thank you for the follow as well.
I love the name.
I mean,
Disco Richard. That's rad.
that's an incredible name.
And kind of our same connection here. I believe I ran into him doing one of our music raid trains and was chatting with another friend on Discord. I'm like, man, check out, never heard of this guy. It's great. It's like, boom, I'm gonna show up in your stream next time I see you on.
Yes. Okay,
Love that
that's
about Twitch.
I
Love
was
that
gonna
about
say my
Twitch.
favorite thing about
Yes.
Twitch is the discovery through rating. I think that's my
Hmm.
favorite aspect of it because you're not just like, oh, let me check out your stream. You're actually interacting in a
Exactly.
way that's like mutually like
That is one of the things that I think
supportive.
a whole lot about here on Twitch is
Hmm.
I'm someone that's very averse to having all my media come in through algorithmic recommendations.
Mm,
And I'm
mm-hmm.
always thinking about better ways to do things, trying to encourage other people to send me playlists. And Twitch kind of does that somewhat naturally with our raid trains, with our events, with our Discord communities. And that's how I found basically everybody that I followed on Twitch, which is like almost at the cap of 2,000 people now.
Wow.
I just
Whoa.
started by randomly finding two guitarists way back in 2018, and then it branched off from raids and suggestions and shoutouts. So what I feel is
That's
more
what I
organic
love. I
rather than
love
an
it.
algorithm telling me.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good point. And obviously, we need to shout out the Golden Shrimp Guild because I think that is probably, maybe not directly, but people that we know from there recommended that we check you out. You know, that
Hmm.
thread is very, you know, well reinforced, if you will.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So beyond that, then you get to like really dig deeper with people through all the events that they do,
Hmm.
which is another one coming up right around the corner already.
Exactly.
Woohoo.
I just saw that sign up link right before we were getting started. I was like, oh, can I figure out my schedule before we... No, I'm gonna wait.
No, I know, right? I am just always so impressed. I don't know what the right word is. I'm a little tired this morning, but like words with just the longevity and the
Hmm.
size of the Golden Shrimp Guild. So
Uh,
how long have you I guess you maybe give us a little bio on your Twitch experience, like how long you've been doing it and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Since I know you're getting your brain awake with the coffee, I'll
Thank you.
ramble a little bit here
I'm
on
like,
some
please
things
save
going
me.
on with this. So,
Please.
before I started with Twitch, I've always been an extreme night owl, extreme level. So, after I'm done teaching in the day and then tutoring, often in a coffee shop, I then often enjoy live music going on at the coffee shop scene out here. I'm in a university town in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, so coffee shops tended to be open till midnight. And there would often be a live musician there, maybe someone with their synth in their looper or someone playing traditional acoustic instruments. And I just love to sit there with live music, work on grading papers, making lessons for the next day. But it always ends at midnight. Like, oh, I'm still working. I go back home, and I coached competitive math teams, elementary schoolers, middle schoolers, high schoolers. The middle schoolers are always trying to engage with me because they would know that I played some video games. And they're like, oh, Mr. Austin, you ever go on Twitch? And like, oh, that's where all the pro gamers are. You need to see the good strategies on there. I was like, no, I'm not going to watch people play video games. Uh, I was the person whose video games were watched over my shoulder, my younger stepbrother and all this when I was a kid. But I would always bring in instruments to the mathletes. When I wanted to teach like least common factors and all that with the elementary schoolers, I brought in my drum machine. So we could talk about what does it mean to have this drum on every fourth, this one on every sixth, this on every 12th. How long do we have to wait until we get the kick drum, the clap, and the snare all on the same beat? They love that. Teaching
Wow.
I
philosophy.
would love
I
that.
would love that right now. Yeah, I was gonna say that might help me use my Pamela's Pro Workout better.
I can imagine that one gets into some pretty complicated ones.
Hmm.
It allows us to talk about difference between polyrhythms, polymeters, and all sorts of nerdy things. But I just believe in putting the instrument in children's hands as soon as possible. Now, how this is going to connect to Twitch? They told me that there were people playing music on there. So one day, after them telling me this for like 2 years, I'm sitting back at home on my laptop trying to make lessons, getting frustrated with my playlists. I've listened to the same thing too many times. You know, maybe I'll check this Twitch thing. They said there's musical performance on there too. And I found someone playing classical guitar named Schnaff. He still streams. I originally played classical guitar. This is great. Hung out on there for a while. He engages in raids with other guitarists. I meet some other people. It branches out until eventually one night, I'm looking for something even weirder. Like, I wonder if anybody in here plays synths because I'm very
Ooh.
interested in this synthesizer stuff. I'm on the wait list to get a sub 37. They're on back order for like 9 months when I tried to get mine, and I want to see what people are doing with synthesizers. And the two people that I ran into were Dan Kushner and Tremendum Labs. And there we go.
Right,
Then
there
we
it
are
is.
kind of in the network. And
Hmm.
I'm not really saying anything. I'm popping in, watching occasionally. And it took me a full another year to about the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, where I'm I've transitioned my philosophy to where I go back home and now I'm playing my synthesizer late at night, building loops, listening to drones, and then doing my worksheets up in the upstairs. People keep telling me, Austin, you need to play your instruments in front of people. You need to play with people. You can't just keep all your instruments in your room, only just listening to what you do. Where am I going to play in town at 3 a.m.? Everywhere here closes at midnight. The internet. The internet is open at 3 a.m.
It's over it. Oh
And
my
that
god, I
was
love
my
it.
outlet. I just like, okay, here's where I will finally put out some noises that I make for other people other than myself was the internet late at night when I just wanted to do that. That's how I got onto Twitch. Is ultimately the mathletes telling me to watch video game streamers and me being a night owl. It's burning the
Wow.
midnight oil at the coffee shop.
It must be nice, just being surrounded by people that are like, the same age, I guess. Like, as the years go
Hmm.
by, like, you're still
Oh,
dealing
they
with the
stay the
same
same age.
the same age
Yeah.
range, not in a McConaughey sort of way,
Oh no,
but
I absorb their life force. I'm
Yeah.
at. You don't want to know which century
but I
But
can
Yeah.
imagine
yeah,
that would like, kind of like be a nice like just piece of information,
You
to
get to see the
constantly factor in.
evolution,
it
of the
is.
same age range over time. That's very interesting.
What I especially appreciate being at I quit working at this school, but I was at a smaller private school. And as such, I would often see like siblings of disparate age groups. So then even see like Okay, here's what I should introduce to your younger brother when he was kindergarten. What's he like in middle school? What's he like in high school? Now the next one behind him. How's each sibling different as the years go by? Which one finally latched on to which social media platform? Who's playing what game? Da 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 da. What trends are there? How's the lingo going?
I would find that so
It,
intriguing.
Oh my gosh, the
it,
lingo these days. Oh, I feel so out of touch.
it cracks me up consistently. I find it so funny. While I'm a huge math and science nerd, I have this strong affinity for sociology and social psychology and all that I love. And I just love seeing the dynamics of different age groups, how they interact, and all these weird things like this.
Yeah, I feel the most disconnected from the youth, obviously, at this as I keep moving forward in time.
Same.
And I've been waiting for that like tipping point where I'm like, nope, I'm lost. I'm untethered. I can no longer relate or understand or pretend like I get what's going on. But I do feel like it's cool to be on Twitch as this community that doesn't need to know like what the kids are doing, even though this is the platform. Usually when you tell people, just a general person in the world, that you stream on Twitch, they're like, wait, I thought that was for kids and games. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's the internet, it's anything, it's open source, we can do whatever we want. It's where all the weirdo musicians are. It's really, I would say, the most interesting is that once we like opened the portal of the shrimp community, we were like, oh my god, we're not alone. Like, everyone is doing their own thing, but it's all like the same sort of, I don't know, point of interest or something. Like, I don't know how to,
Right. Or
obviously, like,
even
no
if it's not
genre.
exactly the same, you find
Yeah.
people that are very, very relatable.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which I did
like,
not find out in the world when we were touring and going to venues and stuff.
this is why I'm glad I found the people that I did almost immediately. Because, like I mentioned, Tremendum Labs was one of the very first electronic streamers that I found. They do just glitch, huge videos, hyper, hyper, hyper glitchy psychedelic stuff. Something that
Ooh.
I could like never really do myself, but I recognized immediately these are people that are putting it out there exactly what they want to do, no matter how weird, out there, how psychedelic it is. It gave me the confidence to like, I'm just going to go up in my synthesizer, I'm going to run through a weird effect, and who cares if I'm not doing anything that could be classified as what?
Yeah. It's like
And they're,
the less definable, the better.
mm-hmm. And what was so encouraging was when I did that, then they showed up. Like, there's that dude that's been in our stream. Now he's on a stream. And they encouraged, other people encouraged, and yeah.
Yeah, the problem here is there's too much encouragement. That's what's going on. They don't know the power we're building as a community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea of experimentation and improvisation and looping and just like the tools that we have nowadays to do all of this, obviously the DAW list, I guess, would be the main thread that ties things together mostly. But not 100%. I don't know. I love that there's no real rules, but yet somehow it feels
Exactly.
like it's all in the same lane. I'm using these conversations to try to figure out what I want to say about this, because we talk about it so much every time there's a shrimper on. It just, we all
Well,
feel this, like, it's intangible, but we feel it, you know?
it is. I need to interject a really funny phrase that I heard
Do
recently.
it.
Speaking of like people doing DAW-less jams, we have a fair number of people that do like mastering streams and all that. And I have a new favorite term for mastering, which is jamless dawing.
Ah! That's amazing. Watching people like in their Pro Tools or their Ableton on the stream.
hmm
Jamless dawing. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Oh yes, the chat is here for that. I love it. I feel like
They
if there were
wanted
questions, I'm sorry if I'm missing them. I'm gonna try
they
to
want to know
scroll
when I
up.
sleep. I tend to sleep
Oh,
6 a.m. to 11 a.m.
oh wow,
I think a new phrase has been coined.
yeah, definitely.
I can't take credit for that. I saw it somewhere on the
Oh,
internet. I
okay.
forget
Okay,
where.
All
okay.
right, all right.
But
I
the
know.
moment I heard it, I loved it.
At this point, like, I I'm not. I don't trust my own thoughts anymore. I'm like, I'm sure I saw that. I'm
Yeah.
sure I saw that or heard that somewhere. I did not. That is not my own thought. but I can't credit anyone because I have no idea where I saw it. Oh, Breathalyzer, hey, wants to know about barbecue sauce. There was a
Okay.
question, I think, was it like the
Barbecue
type
sauce.
of base of barbecue sauce? Because you said you're from North Carolina.
Oh
Ah,
wow. Mm.
well, I will say,
Red or mustard? Okay.
my barbecue sauce preferences are born of having spent a lot of my childhood in the Caribbean and a lot of influence from Jamaican and Haitian flavors. So I like a red barbecue sauce that is heavily, heavily infused with roasted peppers, in particular Scotch bonnet peppers, and some Jamaican jerk flavorings like the thyme and the allspice and all that for something that will like really hit you hard.
Wow. Okay, that was a
Strong
great
opinions on
answer.
sauce.
Yeah.
It
No,
was
that
a great
was
answer, and there were like some other interesting things that were revealed there.
exactly. I love how that question opened up some personal information that I have follow-up questions about now.
Yes.
Okay.
What tell us a little bit more about this Caribbean childhood that you
Okay.
had. I'm so curious.
So I've largely grown up in the hurricane zone, be it coastal South Carolina, or my dad's dream for his whole life was to be just on a tiny rural island and be out there. So eventually, when he found the opportunity, we moved from Myrtle Beach over to this very rural island in the Bahamas called Abaco. It's about
Wow.
like 100 miles long and like 5,000 people living on it back then. So pretty rural population. Most of those people are in the primary city, Marsh Harbor. We were in a settlement about 45 minutes south of there with about 12 permanent residents. So this was a community founded originally by a bronze sculptor and a ceramicist from Boston College that fled the United States during World War II. Didn't want to raise their kids in a military industrial complex.
Ooh.
And after they passed away, my dad bought their house that Margot sculpted from conch shell mortar because there were no building materials out there.
Wow.
So that was like cut off from TV, cut off from phones. You call people on the VHS radio, that type of thing.
Hmm.
Rainwater collection, solar and backup diesel generator. A lot of exposure to the elements out there, but it's very nice weather in the Bahamas. And that was a lot of my teenage years down there. Uh, and then I continued going back down there, obviously, like through college and whatnot. But it, it gave me a lot of influence on my culinary tastes and a lot of my musical tastes as well. Because one of the best things about the Caribbean is the radio stations.
Yes.
I
I
bet.
knew this is where this was headed.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that is a very unique origin story, as Bartik said.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. What can you talk a little bit about that musical aspect?
Absolutely. Most people hear Bahamian music and they find it to be grating because the tempo's so fast and it sounds like you're going. They have these fast beats. I grew to love it, but the biggest musical influence in the Bahamas is Jamaican music. In particular, at that time was soca music from people like Byron Lee and the Dragonaires, which is also very fast tempo. Uh, but these are the types of people might already know about. I don't need to explain Jamaican music very well. A lot of people have heard Bahamian music a little bit. What people have not heard is my bigger influence, which was the Haitian music. Uh, my stepmother's Haitian. Abaco's population is like 1/3 Haitian. We would go to Haiti frequently, and it's a more isolated culture than its surroundings, both linguistically and for historical reasons. But the hotel we would stay at, my dad's friend Richard Morse was previously a punk musician before he moved back to Haiti, and has a band called Ram RAM that plays something called Musique Raison, which is where they take old historical voodoo chants and voodoo music from traditional religions out there and give them a more modern musical twist in the Haitian genre called compa. Has very complex drumming, and an instrument that I appreciate a lot. They just call it cone. It's kind of like you have a group of 8 people, each one holding 3 vuvuzelas, switching between them for this weird horn section, and they are all about the FM synthesizers. So you have these
Yes.
crazy Haitian polyrhythmic drums, these most people call them cheesy synth sounds going on, and then these vuvuzelas going on, and it's a ruckus party, and it is wild, and I love it.
Wow.
So that's a lot, but
Oh, that's
there's a
everything
lot of
now.
weird influences going on there.
I love that. Yeah, the sort of history of these drum machines and synthesizers in I don't know if like sort of equatorial
Mm-hmm.
regions is
Yep,
something I'm discovering more and more and finding the threads to everything else that I am influenced by.
exactly.
And it's
Uh,
mind blowing.
One of the funnier notes that came from that and the types of synths they were using is until I saw my first Haitian band playing, I was under the assumption that they played a bunch of banjo and the banjo sounded really weird. No, they were using banjo presets on some of these synthesizers, and that's why the banjo sounded so weird, is they were holding a chord, hitting an arpeggiator on these things.
The fact that you were even able to discern the sounds as being like a banjo
Mm-hmm.
somehow, like, you know what I mean? Like, because usually, like, the synth interpretation of a traditional instrument is wildly different
Yep.
than what
I
you,
know. I've tried to recreate a banjo sound on my Moog before. It doesn't work out so well.
This is bringing to mind the ideas of like psychogeography
I haven't heard
and
this term, but I love it.
oh, wonderful. Yeah, just the idea of like where, you know, like obviously the geographical region and the sort of felt or unseen or unspoken sort of energy of what is
Hmm.
fueling all of this. Well, it's sort of like a melting pot, if you will, of the fact that these are islands with travel that is very specific
Hmm.
to what's coming and going in terms of how that would influence the cultural experience for someone who's like yourself sort of just absorbing the radio waves.
Yep.
So I'm very
Uh,
fascinated by that.
I also, of course, need to point out a lot of my primary influences on music were just CDs and records my dad had as well. Given the
Same.
era and the Caribbean affinity, I think my first synthesizers I ever heard were in Bob Marley's music. So, of course, then along with the typical things that people that were born in the 50s listened to through the 60s and 70s and all that.
Yes, there was definitely the melding of like sort of pop rock sensibility
Hmm.
with whatever kind of cultural touch points there were in the region, and then just the excitement of cheap synthesizers.
Hmm. And that era, whenever I got back to the internet, was also the accessibility of being able to download songs.
Yes.
That was the peak era for that.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a lot of threads. So I'm curious what we talked a little bit about how you got started with music on Twitch, but just in general, was music always something you were tinkering about with
Um,
personally?
when I was very, very young, I was always tinkering with electronics. That's what I
Mm.
naturally gravitated towards, often doing things that were very dangerous, that I should not have been doing with
Ah.
wires and electrical outlets and light sockets and stuff like that. Was very obsessed with radios, building radios, trying to get a better antenna, that type of thing. But as far as like actually playing music, I was one of those people that was kind of forced into classical against my will and grew up kind of resenting playing classical guitar, although I still love the sound of it. It took me a while to kind of pivot, and that's really how I got into synthesizers, was trying to refine the joy in playing music itself.
Oh yeah, that totally tracks.
Hmm.
It's like
I
I
find that
have
to be a
an
common story with a lot of other people that grew up with classical, is they
it
fall into kind of
sends
two
you
camps.
into experimental. Yeah.
Exactly.
Loving the sound of something that you kind of resented being forced into is a very relatable.
Hmm.
thing as well. Soup Katie, welcome in, first time chat. If you could go back in time to witness any musical event in history, what would it be and why? That is a
Wow.
huge question.
That's a pretty big
Oh yeah,
question.
that's a puzzling one because there's going to be a lot of possible things that I would want.
Ooh.
Uh, I am incredibly drawn to a lot of things that we don't have actual recordings of, and with kind of classical and origins of how music came about, I would just want to be transported into a different time period to hear some like authentic, old school monks chanting in a cathedral in an era before that became widespread. That would be the thing that I would want to experience.
Whoa, cool.
Not a specific location, that is the thing.
Totally. Oh, wow. That's deep. You'd have to go somewhere pretty hard to get to. I feel like you always have to like
Hmm.
climb something really precarious.
Right.
Get
My
before
family
it
is
became
largely from
a
Belgium, so I might skew toward Belgium in like maybe the 1200s, 1300s, or something like
Ooh,
that.
yeah, we're
But that's definitely what comes to mind.
holy
Uh,
cow.
One of my favorite books that I imagine other people are familiar with was David Byrne's book of How Music Works, where he talks a lot about the reverb of spaces and how the sound of a space, like a cathedral and whatnot, shaped the music that developed within that space. And that's something that I think a whole lot about, and I would really love to see the formation of that style of music in its early phases as people feel those out and what's like it.
That's such a good thing to bring up too, because the development of music is directly tied to that idea of
Hmm.
sound in space, and we're doing the exact opposite of that now. Like we
Hmm.
have removed space completely, and we're in the headphones and we're in the DAW and that sort of thing. So that's a really good reminder that there is so much magic in the space. I
Hmm.
love, oh, I
Now, I'm going
love
to
a
connect
cool
a thread
space.
here too. With that in mind, one of the things that I loved when I was doing little sociological studies was about the history of music and why certain instruments took off. And we talk a lot about what they talk a lot about in this research, who plays rock music versus who wasn't able to play rock music based on who couldn't have a drum set in the place where they live and perform music because of the extreme amount of acoustic noise. And that it became kind of a thing of people who lived in houses instead of people who could only afford an apartment. And this gave me a whole
Yes.
new association with thinking about the instruments that I choose to play and what's more relatable for more people that engage with my music is like, oh, if I'm playing electronically, then I'm not biasing it towards people who live in a house and have the kind of means to make lots of acoustic noise. So it felt a little more fair because I want to tell someone, hey, yeah, this drum machine's great versus, hey, this drum kit's great.
Oh, wow, that's a really good point, because our evolution as a band is very much related to that idea of we used to have a full band with a drummer and we used to have a space. And then when we didn't have that space, it just changes everything.
Hmm.
Hey, FBI Crusader, first time chat. Doesn't sound sus at all. This is live. As someone with FBI in their name just coming in being like, hey, I need to police this space right now.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, this is live. Welcome and thank you, Call211, for the follow as well.
yeah, not narky at all.
I definitely want to make sure we get a chance to talk about microscopes.
Absolutely.
This is not a very structured conversation. How could it be,
I'm an
right?
open book. I'm ready to talk about synths, music, gear, influences, microscopes, sci-fi. I'm surrounded by books here too.
Yes. Should we do a little sort of like a studio tour type
We certainly
visual
can.
a little bit? Not, no pressure, nothing planned or anything.
Let
Whatever
me make
you
sure my
feel
OBS is
comfortable
ready
with
here
it.
to camera switch. So I will just point out first and foremost, this is what I generate my visuals on, is my microscope. It is plugged directly into a digital camera that goes right into OBS, and I transform it in OBS to do like mirroring for kaleidoscope, video feedback loops, and all that good stuff. Behind me, you can probably see I have an array of acoustic instruments. I have a saw over there that's great to play with the bow, make some weird drones in the
Oh,
looper. Cigar
yes.
box guitar that Soup Katie's dad, and they're actually made for me. Ukulele, and now I'll do some camera switching.
Heck yeah.
This is the front and center thing that I
Yes.
make 90% of my sounds on, is the Sub 37. It's my first synthesizer, my favorite synthesizer, saved up for a while to buy a Moog, and some other Moog peripherals that come with it. The key to my general sound is I play the Moog Sub 37 through the Mogerfoger Murph, which is a filter array that you can sequence the different bandpass filters on there. And then that just runs into an eventide space and my looper. That's the vast, vast, vast majority of things. When I first started on Twitch, that was the only stuff that I used was Sub 37, Murph, space into the looper. Now, as things have evolved a little bit more, we'll switch to that other camera over there.
Love it.
Let
Hey
me
Toto,
turn
by
off
the
this.
way. I don't know if
But
I
let's
say hi
just
to you.
talk about how that's no slouch of a rig, you know, like Moog 37, Sub
Powerhouse.
37,
So,
the
yeah, so I'll point out.
Mogerfoger Murph that is no longer made
I
anymore.
know, that's what I was
Like
thinking.
Correct.
those are so awesome.
Now,
Sounds
here's the
so fat.
second Mogerfoger. This one's the
Yes.
Oh,
Cluster
another one.
Flux.
I love
Oh
those.
yeah, those are great too.
This is kind of one of the bizarre bits about the way that I run, is once I added a drum machine, I added the Drum Brute Impact, and at that point I removed the cluster flux from my Sub 37 and I gave it to the drum machine.
How
Because
generous.
just so when I'm dealing with drums, I tend to plug in my pattern or tap in my pattern, and then I kind of perform the sound of the drum on the cluster flux, which is a super fancy chorus bucket brigade device with MIDI with a whole bunch of control voltage in the back of it. So I like to then take my little bit of modular over here, and then use that to then modulate the effects that are going on in my drums. Uh,
Ooh.
so I use my modular. It's a little Swiss Army knife type thing. So it's got the things that I wish that I had on my synth but don't. Like the QPOS, the main thing that I wanted. I didn't have enough money for a Voyager. I wanted a stereo filter, so I had to get modular when I could afford a stereo filter to then plug in over there. And then I couldn't figure out where to put my theremin, so I just tied it to the top of my modular rack with a USB cable.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh.
The theremin is most frequently used as a control voltage source to modulate other things rather than to be played as a theremin.
Okay.
So I do still frequently play it as a theremin, but the primary use of it is as a control voltage source where I can just wave my hand over there and then modulate something.
Nice.
I also make lots of use of the contact mic in my modular.
Ooh.
Contact mic into QPOS is a common percussion sound for me. Now switch back where you can see my face.
Yay. Oh, thank you for sharing. That was amazing.
And I didn't explicitly say, but people can probably see all this runs through the RC505.
Oh, gotta have it.
Exactly. If I don't want to spend too much on modules, I need to multiply their power by 5 by having a 5-track looper. And that's about all that I have space for in here. I have a Korg wave drum over there for doing hand drumming, but it usually doesn't fit so well into my rig. But I have a big thing for tactile instruments and liking their feel, and the wave drum was a very obvious choice for that.
Thanks for the heads up on the ad.
Okay.
It's coming. It's coming for us.
Thank you, Daniel. We're bracing ourselves. I definitely feel like I need to make sure I catch your stream where the theremin is being used.
Or just, if you're in there and it's not, just mention it, and
I'll
I
just
will
be
start
like,
using it.
theremin now. Be one of those people. I love that. And they're like, please do this right now. Sometimes
Because of
I
all
like
the
that.
multitasking, I'm just like, I'm on this synthesizer. Now I'm reading chat. Now I'm on the microscope and the synth. I'm usually just looking like right over here. At the people need to remind me, look over there. Oh.
I feel like that's a Twitch thing, is sort of like having your setup dialed in so specifically that, you know, your audience sort of gets to know your rig so they can kind of like anticipate, you know, certain moves that you're going to make. and maybe they'll even
Exactly.
encourage them, you know, and that makes it so much easier, you know, instead of like having a setup that's always changing and, you know, kind of.
Uh, it does to a large extent. I don't know how similar the people that hang out in my channel are to lots of the other ones, but I would estimate that about a third of the people that hang out in my channel are really music people that are much in touch with like the gear and all that. A lot of people in there are in there more to socialize, to see the stuff, to listen to people that haven't played music very much before, but they're in there because some other weird nerdy thing that I'd go on about really caught them.
That's cool
Some
though.
people are even in there despite the music that dislike the music, but tough it out for the other stuff.
Ooh.
Wow. That's bold.
But also I could see how, you know,
Wow. I
that would
can't
happen.
imagine that because I think so much of your streams is like this conversation with what you're doing in the music.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I can't imagine trying to split my brain and like tune the music out because it's such a big part of what's informing kind of the vibes.
Yep. I try to make it a feedback loop to where what I'm seeing and reading from chat is influencing what I'm playing. What I'm playing is then influencing how I'm feeling and how chat is feeling, and then there's a trade-off back and forth, especially then when that whole feedback loop influences another streamer to do something, and what they do with that then influences me. I
Mm-hmm.
like thinking chaotically like that in feedback loops, and I'm someone that only improvises. The only quote unquote songs I ever play are me just trying to do something because it's
In
funny.
five, four,
Inserting a theme
three,
to.
two,
Oh, got an
one.
ad coming here. Yep,
Sorry for anyone who's in an ad, but we're gonna hang out here
no
still.
problem.
But we're all still here.
Gives me a time to wave hello with an emote or two in chat.
Yes. Welcome in Longway79. Thank you for the follow.
Hmm.
Hey Orion. Yeah, so obviously we love improv as well, and I feel like that's one of those things that we used to have to explain to. I remember one time we played a show. It's so long ago. We used to play shows. We played a show
Ancient
in like a
times.
rock club. We were like opening for somebody, and we were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna do our improv shit." You know, like this is
Yeah.
what we're about. This is what we're doing right now. People can just deal. We're just opening, right? And I remember after we were done, like people who wanted to see our gear, you know, people come up, they want to see what you're using, and they were like,
Hmm.
what was that? Like, what do you really wait,
Yeah.
you just improvised that? Like they couldn't
They couldn't wrap.
comprehend it.
Yeah, they almost
And I was
couldn't
like,
believe
I
it.
guess it was kind of bold of us because we don't know what's going to happen and it could go off the rails. And there could be like, we've had shows where like feedback is happening and you're just like, sorry. And everyone like flees the building because you can't figure out where it's coming from and it's just going off the rails. But
Now,
for
do you
that,
two know when you first started improvising? Or did you come from
ooh,
training like learning songs, or did you naturally gravitate towards improvising and experimenting?
questions
What's
coming
happened
back
here?
at us. I'm never prepared for that.
There's a little bit of an evolution, and you tell it really well.
Ooh, you think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It started with those live shows.
yeah, basically what happened is we were playing a lot and we were playing the
Okay.
same set. Like we had our set dialed in because we had so many components that had to be triggered, you know? So like the backing
Can you
track,
give me a year so I have a timeline perspective here?
like 2015 to 2018.
Okay.
So we were playing an album that we had written that we released. So we were playing songs from that album and we were playing rock clubs and we had our set really dialed in and everything had to happen, you know, at the right timing and everything. So there was no, it was very rigid.
There was an MPC that had like pre-programmed, you know, like drums that were perfect, you know, to play each song all the way through.
And then like
kind of a thing.
transition stuff. So after doing that for a couple of years,
And we're back.
we were starting to lose it, like that passion for what we were doing, because like all we were doing was like rehearsing the set and then playing the set, because every venue you have this like stress of like the setup and how much time you're gonna have set up and the sound check and how's the sound and the monitors. So we would continue to rehearse just to make sure that it was like totally second nature, so that, like if we lost our monitors we could still keep going, kind of a thing. And so that drove us to the point where our rehearsals started turning into longer transitions between songs. And
Okay.
then we started stretching from that set we started pushing against it and creating these like
Creating a more
improvised
open set.
Open set, exactly. I love it. From the set, we were stretching ourselves just in the rehearsal, to where we would start having these like drones happening in between songs. We would take, kind of the chord progressions we were playing, right, and just start to push everything as far as we could to the edge. And then I got to a point one day where I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, if we're not going to just like channel music, because we're in this place where we're like reading each other's minds at this point. Yeah, we became a jam band.
Yeah, it was very like Velvet Underground.
Yeah, I would say that was probably a
style
good touch point.
Sets versus like just going, through our
So yeah, then it started to become this thing where we're like, let's play some house shows, some DIY venues where we can kind of stretch a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And then we just stopped playing altogether and went into like what we call our like woodshedding, where we hid out for 2 years and didn't play at all and just improvised
chrysalis to evolve.
Yeah, like until we felt like we didn't suck anymore, to the point where we didn't like go in and go like, I don't know what I'm doing, where you stop thinking and you're just in the flow.
And we made a double album.
And that took like 2 years.
In the process.
And yeah, so while we were doing that, we were recording everything and just, new modules are coming and going and all of this. He started building synthesizers in that period of time, because then it became like, oh, we can do whatever we want. We can use whatever we want, let's get more loopers. Let's break open the box as much as we possibly can. And then it got to the point where we felt so out of touch with like the music community, the music scene, playing live, how to even describe what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So then when we finally came out of that chrysalis and we played our first show where we fully improvised, it felt so normal to us, and the audience was just like,
what just happened in here?
I don't even understand what I just experienced.
Those are my favorite shows, where I walk in and I ask myself, what just happened?
So we thought that was a win. But then, life kind of took us in different directions. And then obviously the pandemic happened and it drove us to Twitch, which is where we found the audience of people who are also doing it and also wanting it. And I don't know, it just changed everything.
Things started to feel a lot more comfortable. We started to feel like we had a lot more community with other musicians, and that we were kind of getting on the same page, versus like feeling like, we were doing some freakish stuff.
Yeah, we were getting kind of feedback from, people who had released our music or wanted, oh, what's your next album? Or maybe we'll release it. Just kind of being like, oh, okay, see ya. I see what you're doing. That's too far out, So I feel like somehow we've come back around to now feeling like we don't have to explain ourselves. We can just be, and like, what a gift. Absolute gift.
When it comes to people seeing what you do, just be like, okay, what? That's kind of something that reassures me when I get that reaction, because I'm someone that's always thinking about, especially if I'm playing online, am I going to fall vulnerable to try to play what I think people want to hear, as opposed to getting into the headspace where I'm trying to really kind of probe creative thoughts, as opposed to people-pleasing thoughts.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is the dance. That's the delicate dance for sure that we're always playing around with, because there is this element of we're in our own space, we're kind of like channeling together, but then like the chat is also bringing something that you want to be plugged into it to a certain extent, because
you can't not pay attention to the chat lighting up.
It's sort of like if there's energy and momentum with the chat, you don't want to just ignore it completely and be like, no, I'm on my own wavelength, I don't care. Like, it's exciting to ride those waves too. So that's just, I think, putting in the time. You kind of get to play around with all the different variations of that if you do it a lot.
Exactly. What was I asking there about how you got into improv and where your musical style came from? And I identify a whole lot with so much of that. I was going to say that I've gotten to the point where I only improvise aside from just trying to inject humor.
Yeah,
And
that's always there.
I find humor on Twitch to be one of the primary things that really draws me in and keeps me entertained as I play and tries to distract me from some of the other trying to be more perfectionist. And one of the things that I've been doing recently as a creative little project with all this is a friend who was in here in chat recently, Evan.pro, is we've done one of these chat bots in there and we've seeded it with all these personalities of sci-fi figures. And occasionally we ask the chat bot which figure from sci-fi do you want an element of their personality added to your prompt now. It's like, oh, now I want GLaDOS. Like, okay, now I need to learn a little bit of Still Alive so I can weave that in there when the bot says something funny. Just little tiny threads in the music to try to connect what's happening in chat. So if someone really notices, they'll get a laugh out of it.
Wow. Okay, that is like over my head. I don't know how you feel.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't fully understand how you could come up with that idea, then actually implement it. That is, I need that emote.
So what I tell people is that I like to just get in creative conversations with people, especially late at night, and just spin up weird ideas and push them, push them, push them as weird as we can get them until something seems like this seems like something maybe we should do. Evan right here in chat had done a connection with a chat GPT and his own custom coding thing to make the fanciest bot on Twitch I've ever seen in my life. And then he put it in my channel and opted for me to just write a crazy prompt to guide its behavior. I wrote an 8,000 word story on the bot's origin, where it came from, what it thinks it is, what da 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 da. We did kind of a recursive feedback loop to guide it, where it was seeded with a personality, and then we would ask it what it thought about characters. It's a chat that doesn't have normal thoughts and all that, but we would ask it like, consider the movie Blade Runner, consider all the characters within it. Which character within Blade Runner do you feel shares things with your personality? Which one would you like an aspect of their personality to be reinforced in your own prompt? It's like, I like Rachel's pursuit of so if I was to pick one up, like, okay, now your prompt, you admire Rachel from Blade Runner, and it has grown to 8,000 words, and it thinks it's a cybernetic cat that tries to hack the Twitch stream and all this stuff. So it's constantly making cat jokes and sci-fi jokes, and I love it.
Wow.
Because when people talk about the use of AI tools, ethical stuff, my thing is I just want to use it for humor and absurdity. That's something that's kind of unique to that technology. And like, yes, language models are ripping off lots of different types of media, but this one is explicitly doing it, saying, I admire GLaDOS from Portal and Rachel from Blade Runner. I am citing who I am based on now. So that's kind of how I engage with a lot of that technology.
That's incredible. The layers of sci-fi that you just described are blowing my mind. So Evan.pro is who you were referencing.
He's the friend that made this bot.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, this is crazy because he's even saying like you've taken it to the next level. I love how you're both like being like, no, he's a genius. No, he's a genius.
And yeah, Evan, you can share the link to the prompt if you'd like. So people, it's a monster prompt, but people can see if they want to click and read any of that giant block of text. You'll see what's in there.
Well, I feel
it
like
contains.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, just for people in chat that want to look at it, but there's going to be information about a lot of our Twitch friends in there because I typed like the user target songs is a Twitch friend that plays this type of music and loves bananas, and you previously had a conversation with him about the nature of emotions and chatbots. So it has like memory of its conversations with people that I've inserted into its own memory.
Better than we would remember. That's amazing. Oh, good to see you, Obama's Weed Man. Thanks for stopping through.
Obama is, what's up?
My long-term goal is to use the code in writing girls to say hi to keep scammers busy and distracted. Oh, I love that, Evan. That's amazing. And there we have the prompt. Wow, this is amazing. No, I was going to say that something that stuck out to me was the fact that you're doing this late at night. And I feel like that's a key component.
Sure, yeah.
It
why
is.
it is the way it is.
I'll say something about that very briefly here. I'm someone that gets stuck in my analytical teaching mode very, very easily. So part of the reason for the Twitch stream was to get myself in that wind down mode in the evening to get out of just thinking of I am teaching, I am explaining, I am doing math. To just engage in a totally different headspace, which is also part of why I try not to use uh, Ableton when I'm on, because that still feels too technical and less intuitive. I want to be in a headspace where I can just think and reach and get to the thing that I want.
Yes.
There is something there. I mentioned Vangelis in chat earlier, but there was some interview that he did where he wrote something like that, where when he feels he wants to just be able to reach for the thing, and that immediately connected to me.
Oh yeah, I definitely relate to that. Especially, like we both have day jobs. I'm on the laptop all day doing very
Hmm.
technical, boring stuff, watching paint dry kind of things. And to get out of that, well, you're just like your brain and your eyes are so intensely focused.
Hmm.
So to be able to have things you can touch that don't, well, some of them have screens still, but I don't
Hmm.
know. It's very helpful. And I feel like being really open about these things is such a beautiful gift to people who might feel like, oh, that's not for me. I can't do that. I'm not a
Exactly.
musician, whatever, whatever. That's what I love about the Shrimp Guild is
Hmm.
synths and dollousness and all of sound creation. It's for everyone.
Yeah, just
I will
the
give a side note
encouragement.
that the real. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, it was
Sorry.
just the encouragement to be weird and to do whatever, and that
Exactly.
there's no such thing as messing it up, kind of a thing. I love
I was
that.
going to give a side note there on the DAW listeners because I started with Ableton before Synths, but when I started streaming, my laptop couldn't run both Ableton and OBS at the same time, so I had to make a decision there. Like, guess I'm buying a looper pedal.
I know, that's the real
That'll do it.
truth. That's the real
That's
truth
the
about
real.
why we're dollars. Because our computer can't run it all at the
That's
same
the
time.
real
Yep.
source.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. That's the truth right there. Everybody, you got it out of us. That's why we're
Yep.
doing this. Same, same, same. I definitely want to come back. I know we're all over the place, but the thing that I think stands out, obviously who you are and what you bring to the table and your stories and your personality and your intellect, but this dang microscope stuff. Tell me
Yep.
how did you go like, this is what I'm going to do on stream?
So I had originally had the idea after I was doing a little bit of music and reading my poetry and chatting with people at the late night streams that I wanted a visual element, heavily inspired by Tremendum Labs. That's two-person operation, and they have multiple hands going on multiple things. And I was thinking, oh, what I'll do is I have a telescope. I will run my telescope and I will point it out the upstairs window and put a camera on there and have all these poets write about the moon way back then. We'll look at the moon as we read about it and play songs as lunatics late at night here.
Oh, wow, that is cool though.
Well, turns out it's a lot of clouds in North Carolina. Telescope has to go outside. Synthesizers don't like to go outside.
Yes.
And I was puzzling over this for a while, and eventually someone, like from the Shrimp Guild, is talking about microscopes, and I was like, maybe rather than looking out into space, we'll look inwards at smaller things. I have experience with microscopes because my first job out of college, I was in sweet potato research and plant biology, and we were doing lots of microscopy type stuff. And
Ooh.
a microscope is also much cheaper than most telescopes.
Oh, that's a good point.
People make all sorts of assumptions, but this level of microscope beside me, you can get that same image quality out of $100 microscope. $100 is about all you need. The expensive part's putting a camera on it.
Yeah.
But these
Right.
days, most people just mount their cell phone to it that already has a $500 camera in their cell
Oh my
phone.
gosh, such a good point.
So the microscope then turned into how can I get things that will be moving on there for me to then be able to take my hands off the microscope and play music again. Because I was trying to avoid being right back into teaching mode, find an organism, explain about it. And, oh no, now I'm doing the same thing that I do when I'm working. I am teaching constantly, and I don't just want to teach from 11 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It's a long day of teaching, 11 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Whew.
So I eventually just started getting little bits of pond water, finding microbes at a proper magnification level, let them swim around, mirror that, let OBS move different parts of the microscope with the scroll filter, put a video feedback loop, and eventually I stumbled upon my favorite thing, which was getting hypertonic solutions that will have crystals precipitate rapidly within them. Because watching crystals grow in real time is something that a lot of people didn't realize they could do. They assume you
Same.
need like time lapse. And what's so nice about that is it's one of those things that you don't know when it's going to happen. So you're waiting. You say, are you going to, is it going to be at the, should we switch slides? Like, it's something to discuss. Like, is it going to happen? Is it going to grow fast? Is it going to grow slow? Is it going to be in a way that we'll be able to focus on? Will the fluids move in the cool, chaotic way that we like and make a vortex? Will it be boring? We don't really know. It's a surprise. And that's its own whole kind of
Oh.
fun thing for a stream is you want something where there's an element of unpredictability that people can, I was there when it did the thing. I can get the good clip. We should cut this one out. We should give this to someone else to further reinterpret it and all that good stuff. And
Wow.
as Knox is noting, I try to gravitate towards things that get me excited.
Yes. Oh my
That's
gosh,
really what
there's
it's
so
about.
much
It's finding
chat
the things that
ideas.
really get you going.
You lit the chat up with that. Yes, computers are expensive, synths are expensive. I agree. I love, yeah, that, I mean, we talk a lot, I think, in this community about like how can you get started with what you have, and that sort of stuff is really important too. And the choices that you make will lend themselves to those creative ideas that start to flow, like you were talking about, of like not getting
Exactly.
trapped in something and trying something else, and the circumstances that lead you there. It's all, life is improv. Daniel wants to know if you know Juliana Finch music, because I
I do not think
guess
I know Juliana Finch.
she is based in North Carolina.
Oh, so no, no, I do not. People are wondering. I am in Carborough, North Carolina, adjacent to the University of North Carolina. It's right where I am. It's a decent musical center out here, but it still feels like a small town.
But university town is always gonna have something a little special to it,
Exactly.
besides a
That
regular
special
small
thing for
town.
me is not needing to get in my car and being able to walk everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Oh yeah,
I spent.
stargazing in is a hard thing to do without. Like, we're lucky now. We're back in California. We went out to Joshua Tree recently. It's
Mm-hmm.
only a couple hours from here. We see a good amount of stars in our neighborhood, but to go out and just have like none of that city noise, none of that distraction, and just see the like true density of what's in the
Exactly.
sky, oh, blows my mind.
Yeah, nothing's
It's
like the way
inspiring.
the sky really opens up out there.
And it's one of the things I gravitate to from my childhood in very out there places. And this is the book that got me started on poetry. And one of the first things he writes about is watching the sea of stars descend into the horizon.
Ooh.
And that's, of course, like 1700s, so there was no light pollution back then. But
Yeah.
those turns of phrases, even through translation, the river of stars, the sea of stars, and all this stuff, it's like, oh, it made me think so much about wanting my telescope with the stream. Now I've at least met plenty of telescope streamers who have far more expensive telescopes than I could ever hope to afford, mounted to their roofs with remote control.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, yeah, I can still get that appreciation on Twitch, even if I'm in a cloudy place with light pollution.
Wow, that's a really good point, that like Twitch is still this like unbounded space where if you can think of it, someone's probably doing it on Twitch. It's my childhood one from the, okay, sorry, you're talking about microscopes, tardigrades, brew dark, hello, hey Mitchell,
Yep.
how's it going?
And I'll mention on the tardigrade note here,
Let's go there.
I have all these colonies of things on my desk under this grow light's like as bright as the sun when it's on to keep all
Oof.
my samples alive.
Oh
This
my
one's
gosh.
dried out. This looks like who knows what in here, but another streamer, Numb the Geek, mailed this to me in 2019, and all of my tardigrades in my colonies came from this little jar of moss in 2019, dried out. So my tardigrades came from another streamer's front porch.
Wow.
he didn't know he had them, but when I started looking at the moss from his porch, it's like, it's full of tardigrades, man. I love these things.
Whoa. That's wild.
And
Well,
that's a
that's
fun
true
kind of through
collaboration.
line.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. So this idea of like, I want to see this, the macro, space, outer space to the micro. I'm sure the poetry of that is just so rich.
Exactly. I read almost, I'd say it's 75% of the poetry I read is old Zen poetry, and a lot of that is about like looking within, looking at things deeper, reflections of things and all that. And it translates pretty well. I try to engage with the books chaotically and just have chat pick numbers, and those numbers guide me to pages or guide me to a specific book and then a page in a book. And that's one of the ways where I try to keep things fresh and a little bit interactive. Some people that are regulars have cheat sheets. They have the books that I have now. And they can then be, when they're putting a number, sometimes it might not be so random. Someone might know what page they want.
I love this. This is the kind of influencer I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've told a lot of these authors when I've emailed them asking permission to read some of the newer books on stream is, hey, I'm going to recommend people the book. I'm probably going to gift a bunch of copies of this, so I'm not making an unauthorized audio book.
Right.
Also, come check out the stream if you want.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, what are you looking at under the microscope these days?
The primary
What's got you
things.
excited?
So I have always explored pond and creek waters. One of the through lines through there, because I'm just fascinated by algae, photosynthesis, moss. I'm a big plant person. I like to bring up things that give me a little reason to talk about the kind of circumspect nature of the connections of things, energy from the sun being captured by chloroplasts, everything technically being powered by stars and all that type of stuff. I love the most looking at plant cells that are where you can see the chloroplasts as they're engaging in photosynthesis. That is number one. After that, and the microbes and the tardigrades and the amoebas. And from there is me mixing the array of chemicals that I have here to precipitate crystals. After that is getting samples from other people and things that have some layered significance to me that I often leave unstated. I have a large number of samples of things from close friends, other streamers, and all that people do not, generally in chat, people do not know where they came from. Only occasionally do I say, like, what a connection is on there. One of the more recent ones that I explicitly said where something came from, and its humorous connection, was hot tub water from a friend that got infected with hot tub folliculitis from an infected hot tub at a rental. So it was kind of funny that we were looking at that, and there's some really cool things there. Oh, and by the way, it's technically a hot tub stream because we're looking at a hot tub folliculitis bacteria that'll make you sick if you get in this hot tub. Other times it might be like sand from a beach where something significant happened, or with someone that might have also been involved in the music that's currently playing, but then nobody knows that. So it's like a layer of meaning on top of things. And then maybe I mix that with a beach plant that came from the last beach stream. And it's the reason why I have little vials of sand all over the place. Sands from different places have very different optical properties, different grain sizes, and it's beautiful to look at. And then I like having dense layers of bizarre referential meaning in my improv that are virtually impossible to tease out. Occasionally an Easter egg of it might pop out, but even often the way that I speak, I will layer in lots of quotes. People that have listened to me a lot will note there's a lot of things like, why does he say that way? Sometimes there's a funny reason that someone might figure out later.
Oh, wow. This is like very deep.
First
that
of all,
comes
we're,
from appreciating poetry.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
we're big beachgoers, and I think we should send some sand.
I know, my brain automatically
Absolutely.
went to sand.
Because there's
I need
some
to see the
interesting
sand.
things going on in the beaches of Southern California, I think bacteria-wise, that we hear about. They actually have warnings that they'll post, like the microbacteria.
Do you guys have
there's a
the
feed we
red
follow.
tides going on out there?
That's more of a East Coast
Yeah.
thing, I think.
Okay.
But I'm not. I don't.
You got
know
me
if-
wondering what's the infect? What's the bacteria? What's going on here?
So there's a feed that we follow that tells you every day like which beaches you shouldn't get in the water and which ones are okay. Every day it's different. Mm-hmm. And that just makes me wonder, like, what is that about?
Well,
I don't know the details of what they're saying is in there that you can't get in the water.
Yeah.
But then today it's okay. I don't know. That makes me feel weird.
Yeah, we're not. I can't speak on the details, but there's one particular beach that we go to that has like a little like, what would you call that even? Like the little like pond area that like happens because like only at high tide does water like make its way to this like almost like pond or.
Okay, so there's the beach.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Like the ocean, right? And then the sand. And then sometimes like a creek channel will open up.
Yeah.
And then there's water behind us as well.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's man created
yeah,
for
if it's like drainage or what's going on there.
But it's pretty intense. It almost feels like a lake, and there's like an underpass that you can walk through, and you're like in there, and then the sound is cool. But it's a little freaky, and I wouldn't get in that. There's always people back there doing like science people. Always in their like science people. They're always in their like boots and their overalls and taking samples and writing things down.
It smells stank. That's all I know.
Bad.
Is the water that I'm talking about, which means there's probably some interesting stuff in there.
Tide pools. Okay, they're not necessarily tide pools because we've been to a beach that we specifically went to go to the tide pools, and they were more like the ocean crashing up onto like rock formations that had tide pools.
Or as the tide recedes, you're left with the pools there.
Yeah, this is more like you're at the beach, and if you turn around, there's like a highway, and then under that, there's like water.
There's some sort of fresh water source draining through the beach and leaving a reservoir of some sort behind it.
Yeah, almost more of a reservoir.
Yes, you got it.
We can send you hot tub water samples too. But tide pools are
amazing. What's the name of that beach? Topanga State Beach. Yeah. So, I mean,
I would be highly interested in any sort of sample you would ever want to send. And I just recommend save whatever leftover spice jars you might have and you can toss whatever in there.
Oh, perfect. So it should be like a dry sample of the sand, or
if it's something that'll be wet and seals properly, you can send something wet since it's not going to go across international borders.
Okay.
Right.
Dry things will preserve the best,
Okay.
but the wet samples that are really infected with things tend to be some of the most fun to look at.
Yeah.
my gosh,
kind of an
this is so
expiration date on them.
We're doing this.
Oh my gosh,
I'm so excited.
I love it.
And I do not have any West Coast sand samples yet. Everything
We
that
can be
I
your
have
West Coast people.
We can be your source. Yes. Your
everything that I
supplier.
have so far is East Coast and European thus far.
Ooh, okay. Oh, Daniel's saying it has to do with concentration levels, not a presence or absence. So it's always present. It's just about concentration levels. Okay.
And typically with those runoffs, there's going to be some sort of extra nutrient, like an extra amounts of nitrogen or phosphorus in there that have led to a bloom of a microorganism that's in higher levels than it should be.
That sounds right.
I had to ask about red tide because they tend to be dinoflagellates, which are amazing to look at, even if they're dangerous.
See, I love this positive spin on things that are used to fearmonger.
Well, I'm from Florida originally, so I'm definitely familiar with the term red tide.
Were you from the Gulf Coast?
I'm from Daytona Beach, and I lived on the Gulf Coast through high school. So I was actually going to chime. I was going to chime in a little bit because my dad worked for a cruise line. We went to the Caribbean a lot, So I actually got exposed to soca music. And
did you go to Labadee? The Labadee, Haiti on the cruise line at all?
Never went to Labadee, Haiti. Never have been to Haiti.
You went to the Bahamas a lot?
Yeah, Bahamas mainly.
Did you ever go to Jamaica?
Never went to Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
But
did you ever go to what is now called the Disney Island Castaway Cay in the Bahamas?
No.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
Okay, I mentioned these places because our house in the Bahamas was like 50 miles away from Castaway Cay, and we lived around the corner from Labadee, Haiti, where the cruise ship dock is.
Yeah,
a lot of Nassau and Freeport.
Yep. So you're definitely exposed to that Bahamian, fast-paced music.
Yeah. Goombay Punch. is
Oh
something I
yeah, the
remember.
sweetest soda that's ever been invented.
That stuff is like was really good to me. Like as a kid, I thought it was
Uh-huh.
awesome. Yeah, so it was hard for me to like restrain during your origin story.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't like.
I was gonna. Hey, it's your
You were
life.
gonna let it
It's
go,
your life
right?
story to get excited about.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like definitely some of the memories I have is, you know, I definitely didn't have the
Absolutely. And if you're
experience
in
you had.
Florida, even just Florida, just
Yeah.
exposed to the Bahamian, the Jamaican, and the Haitian, and especially the Cuban influence down there too. I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
all of that music so much.
And the
Absolutely.
wildlife stuff too, like, you know, just a
Hmm.
lot of like field trips to, you know, reserves and, you know, protected land for science classes, and, you know, taking samples and looking at it under
Exactly.
microscopes, and, you know, a lot of that stuff for me as a kid. But I definitely didn't go that route, you know, professionally, so I have a lot
Hmm.
less knowledge.
That's so
So I
funny.
felt a
Beginning of the
little
summer,
intimidated, you know, to talk about it, but, you know.
yeah. I mean, I'm used to talking to people of all levels of expertise about all sorts of things. I might switch from one chat in the morning talking to a second grader, then later on in the evening talking to a cellular biologist that having trouble modeling the shape of a cell membrane. So I'm talking to people at all levels of expertise a lot, and I
Yeah, second
That's
grade
cool
is
though.
pretty much like, you
That's where we're at. Yep.
know.
uh,
Yeah.
with Florida in mind and Twitch connections. At the beginning of the summer, I'd actually made a trip down to the Tampa area with a friend to go see another Twitch streamer perform, Infinite Third, who does 505 looping with guitar and a machine and all this. It was fantastic.
Wow.
That's
And of
very cool.
weird connections. I didn't know this until I had heard his music for like a year or two. And then meeting him, he's like, "Oh, the reason I'm called Infinite Third is because I'm Billy Mays the Third. Billy Mays, the guy, was my dad." I was like, "What?"
Okay, mind blown. Mind
Like
blown.
unexpected connections out there in the world.
Wow. Yes, and all through Twitch. The
Hmm.
best, most exciting, interesting threads I have found in my journey so far on this planet have been through Twitch.
Knox
Of
lived in
things I
Florida
never
for
expected from
28
that attic.
years.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
what's that?
I was just saying, Knox lived in Florida for 28 years. What part?
Oh man.
Yeah, a lot of
But
Florida
yeah,
love.
when it comes to chaotic and unexpected, I never expected that evening getting in the attic to do Twitch to then turn into, oh, now 4 years later, here's Billy May's son teaching me a new trick on the RC505 on how to use the vinyl flick to slow down certain loops and speed up other loops.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's amazing.
Ta-
That's why we're always like people who say, "I don't know, how should I get started with Twitch?" And we're like, just start.
just jump
You'll
in.
find your way. Don't try to
Yep.
say this is what I'm going to do because it will evolve.
Tampa Bay, yeah, that's just a few hours north of where I was living in Fort Myers.
Hmm.
And cool,
Ooh,
cool
Seattle
area.
is the complete opposite of Florida. Wow.
And
That's
I'm
a really
terrible at math, so I don't know your age. So
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and do that math. That's for OpenSet to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sorry, we're off the math clock now. No numbers
No
allowed.
numbers. No
No numbers
numbers. Only
allowed.
cosmic conversations.
Yeah.
Oh, rocket launches is another cool thing that happens in Florida.
Hmm.
That's true.
And that's very...
I had the traumatic experience
Oh,
of
no.
watching the Challenger explode when I was in kindergarten. Now you know my age.
Didn't know we were going to go
Yeah.
there, did you?
In live outside, like looking up in the sky, like, look, it's the spaceship.
And you know they built it up like for months that you guys were going to get to see it.
Yeah, it was horrifying. I try not to think about it.
Knox also had that experience.
That's one of those things that I don't know how I missed it when I was of the age, but that was like never registered as a memory. Instead, my core big event memory of elementary school was having recess interrupted for everybody needs to come in. They're about to read the verdict. OJ is not guilty. That was
Same.
my big elementary school memory.
That is the same for me too. That's really funny. We were like, I don't think we were supposed to be listening. It was on the TV, but my teacher put it on the radio for us to listen to. And I was like, I think we're too young for this, but we had to know. We had to know. Yeah. Watching it on TV from class, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, school teacher on the shuttle, exactly. Yeah, that's a common core memory. It definitely changed things.
Yeah. I
With
kind
some of
of
my
forget about it, honestly.
with some of my mathletes in mind and watching things about space, one of the things they've been very, very excited about was this astronaut Christina Koch, who's now going to be like on the moon mission. Will be the first woman on the moon. Did a lot of firsts for women in space. She's an alumnus of one of the residential high schools in the area, the North Carolina School of Math and Science, that a lot of my mathletes now attend or have attended.
Oh.
And she went to my alma mater, NC State. So a lot of my students are very focused on space stuff, since someone that comes to speak to them that went to their school is on TV doing cool things like all that.
Wow. That is very cool. I think I might be conflating her with someone else, but when
I
they
think I got her
started
first name correctly. I'll double check
doing
her.
when they started talking about the JWST, is that what it is? Yes.
Yep.
And doing a lot of live streams. And that's when I first was like, wait, NASA's just like on my phone talking to me about what they're doing. This is crazy.
Yep.
Like I get to just watch this. That was a very cool season, and I haven't been paying as much attention to it, but I remember thinking like, oh, there's like a lot of badass women on this task force, if you will, and they're putting them like front and center to be kind of the conduit for the communication to us regular folk. I thought
Exactly.
that was very cool.
And this gets to something that I care a lot about doing math team stuff is getting girls on my math team, where a lot of the parents will only have their boys try out and assume it's not a thing that the girls would want to do. So I put a lot of pressure, especially at the elementary school level, on the parents, like, oh, you have a sister, bring your sister with you. It's like, what? Why? It's like,
Why?
well, because we have these 4 girls over here and they need more girls in their group when you guys want to split up boys versus girls. That's what I tell them. So we're always pulling out the long history of women being involved in space exploration, especially on the
Yes.
coding side from back in the past.
Oh yes, they were literally called calculators, or is that? Yes.
There's a favorite picture that I insert in a lot of my slides of Margaret Hamilton standing next to the printed out guidance code that she wrote that's as tall as she is. Back when code was on punch cards and all this.
Yes, you had to like climb a
But,
ladder.
Yes. And this year right now is going to be the first time I have one of my former mathletes graduate with a degree in aeronautical engineering from NC State.
Oh wow.
And she is the daughter of the art teacher at the school who, once again, is like, I'm sorry, don't want to dox anybody. So,
Right.
Your grandfather was a mathematician. You should try out for math team too. She's like, okay.
That
She
is
does
so
really
cool.
well. And then she wound up getting a big scholarship because of her amazing math skills.
Yes.
Yeah, gotta push the kids into the math.
That is it's math really is the gateway to everything, which I'm sure you
Bonus creature, Lisa Ling and Anderson Cooper.
Wait,
I definitely remember that. Channel 1 News.
Oh right. Yeah. You always tell me that.
And they're still doing it, man.
They're still out here.
I wonder what happened to the other like 5 or 6 journalists that were involved in that show, but those were the 2 standouts.
I love that there's a Lego set of her and her printout. Is that for real, or is that a joke? Because that's a really
There
good
is.
joke too.
It was a little series of 3, like Women of NASA or something like that they called her, or Women of Science. And
okay.
I got that set for, I have some sisters that are much younger than me. Bought that whole Lego set for both my baby sisters.
Nice. How do you beat that? Oh yeah. See,
I saw there was a comment up there. Someone asked me if I had any desire for things from the Great Lakes, and I would love something from the Great Lakes.
Oh yeah, let's get back to pond water. Okay. The idea of sending you things. What is something you weren't expecting to receive? Do you get things that people don't tell you they're sending?
Yes, absolutely. One of the first things that someone sent me is not something I expected. It's sitting right there by my feet, plugged into my rig. The guy that told me he was sending me some moss, it arrived in a box about this big.
Whoa.
It's like, what is going on here? And when I open it up, it's a Korg Mini Pops drum machine from the late 70s. They're with a little thing of moss. He's like,
Oh
hey,
my
I don't really use
God.
this. I do exclusively acoustic instruments, but someone bought this for me back like in the 80s or 90s. This would sit in my garage. Like, send it to the right person.
Is it salvageable?
It's 100% perfectly functional.
Oh wow, amazing.
Perfectly functional.
That just blew my mind because it's such a beautiful thread to the beginning of our conversation when you were talking about the influences of, you know, the FM synthesizers of, I guess, the 80s.
And when he sent it to me, I didn't even recognize the name Mini Pops was a drum machine. I recognized it from a track name from an Aphex Twin song.
Oh!
It's like, oh, that's why he named it that. It's a drum machine.
That's amazing. That's the perfect reference. Wow. Okay, so I was expecting you to say something really gross and weird.
Oh,
but it was music related.
Yes, it was the music related was the unexpected thing.
Yeah.
Not that many people have sent me a whole lot of microscope samples. I get a lot of requests for me to do really gross things. Probably the grossest that we've done was occasionally I'll do a cooking stream. People love the one where I just did an oyster roast in the back patio, and we roasted a small number of oysters at a time, ate them, and chatted. And someone said, hey, we should look at some oyster juice under the microscope. Like, okay, we will reserve some of the liquid that is coming out of these oysters for the microscope. Which we looked at. It was pretty boring. Oysters are pretty good filterers.
Oh, right. Good point.
And then we was like, maybe we'll just seal some up in a jar and let it wait. Make something that's borderline biological hazard here.
That's what I was thinking.
There we go. Biohazard.
We let
time.
that oyster juice age for a year.
Oh man,
It's one of the most foul things I've ever smelled.
I was gonna say.
I was going to say, under the microscope or just...
starting to
from
put
the
that
smell.
smell together, and it's no bueno.
Exactly. I'm into some of the gross. Some of the gross things I would like to do are like technically against Twitch toss, so I can't do it if I mention what the things are. Like, people always want to know, like, birds carry stuff from place to place. How about you look at bird poop? And it's like, oh, looks like that's actually technically against Twitch toss.
That's crazy.
There's a
What-
lot of bizarre educational things that are technically against the rules.
Oh.
Oh wow.
That's so fascinating. I
Never
wonder
would've thought
I
about
wonder
that.
what happened to make them go, oh, gotta add that in. Somebody did
One of the
something
biggest ones
weird.
that comes up is any sort of display of blood.
Oh,
I've
okay.
skirted the rules on, like, I have a slide that was a blood smear a long time ago that's preserved under resin. I'm going to still look at the red blood cells, even if it is blood. It wasn't like blood in the last years. I think I can get away with that.
It's no longer technically blood. I love
Right.
that. Oh, that's so fascinating to think about. Like, would they consider that still what they're concerned about? Like, obviously, I understand what they're concerned about.
Exactly.
It's like more violence and things like that. But
I get paranoid about some of that stuff because I know educational streamers that have been banned for showing an anatomical drawing in an educational stream of like, and I mean just like an anatomical drawing of like a uterus and ovaries.
oh wow,
Like, most people would not consider that
Banned?
something banned.
Wow.
Banned for like a week.
oh my god.
Wow, that's so.
Someone that is typically
Weird.
doing science in a laboratory as their live stream.
That's crazy. Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's a whole other conversation about like the filters that they have set up for these things and like not really getting to be able to explain or create new boundaries for that. That's really something that comes up a lot in the Twitch world.
There was one streamer that was assembling bones for a museum. That's what she does for a living.
Okay.
And she was banned for animal torture permanently. Even though this animal wasn't alive for a long, it was only bones being assembled for a actual like public museum thing because this is her profession, working for a museum.
Like, hang with me while I work.
That's brutal.
Wow.
Permanently banned
Oh my god.
for assembling a bird skeleton.
And a bird at that. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems so odd that.
Not to dwell on weird bans, but it's
no,
an
but
interesting
you're right.
thing.
It's part of it. It's sort of a thread of this.
Well, that answers that. They literally look at the rules and they're like, "Yep, this literally is."
But it's not like a person, right? Like it's like some sort of automation, or is it an actual
The best we
person?
figured there is she got unbanned months later when theoretically the right person reviewed the ban or something like that. Because for the number of streamers on Twitch, they don't have a huge number of employees that are actually looking at these things.
That's what I thought.
Trying to get like an actual person on an email or a call with Twitch can be an impossible task for people other than the biggest streamers out there. So I'm very cautious to try to not get banned.
Yeah, you want to skirt that. You don't even want to get into the conversation.
You don't want to mess with it, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, it's people submitting their. So it's like somebody in your stream, somebody saw it, and they're saying, "Flag this." Okay.
Right.
Oh, we're self-reporting now. Wonderful. That's not sci-fi dystopian.
I mean, that is something to be really cautious of, I guess. You know.
I know. People are always telling us to be concerned about that, and I'm like, I don't want to put my head in that mindset though. Like, I appreciate when people are like, hey, maybe watch this, but if I'm thinking about that all the time, then it kind of stifles the whole point of being on here and experimenting. It's a fine line.
But then on the other side of that, you know, you're not ultra careful when you find yourself banned.
I know, right?
You're done. That's it.
I've done things that have been totally bannable by the rules,
right.
But got away. The VOD doesn't exist anymore.
Right, exactly. Don't save the VOD and everything will be okay.
Exactly. Probably the dumbest one is I had my stream set to mature, whatever, and was reading a scientific or bit of scientific research from the 1970s from Masters and Johnson. That was some of the first people to study sex itself and people's attitudes on it.
Yes.
And it's scientific literature, but it discussed things in a way that is bannable.
Right, exactly.
Like, oh, we're sorry, guys, we're not reading from that anymore. Didn't realize it at the time.
There have been a couple times, because we do movie nights, and obviously that's like already... I try to hide in like a different category, so nobody's really paying attention. But there have been a couple times when I'm like, oh, this is just full-on nudity, like 70s weirdo art film, and I'm like trying to chase the censoring of what's going on, covering things up, and you're just like, this is so lame. Like, there should at least be like a category I can go in that's like, hey, this might be under the like art or educational sort of thing where there's like a little bit different rules. But it always cracks me up, and I'm like, oh no, everybody close your eyes. It's like when I was a kid and my parents would be like, you know, skip this part, they're doing the sex stuff, you know.
We've seen the films before for the most
part. Some of them we haven't, though. That's the problem, is sometimes people send us movies they want us to watch on stream and we haven't seen them before. Those are almost always the ones that have weird stuff where you're like, oh,
not going to be watching Zardoz on stream.
We definitely did.
That was one of the ones.
That's hilarious that you brought that
That's
up.
That's like 90% not okay.
That's what I mean. We're playing with fire here.
Well, you may know me as Open Set, but my name is Arthur Frayne.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh, hey, Yappo, how's it going? Yeah, don't record your crimes. The National Geographic exception, exactly. It's not real nudity if it's nature. It's educational. It's this is like...
This is one of the questions that came up, is with animals and all this. And with some popular streamer getting banned for like half a second of two animals mating from some clip that someone sent him. The tardigrades are animals, and they reproduce like animals do. So there's a chance that we might accidentally come across that occurring on the microscope, and nobody knows if this is a bannable offense if we happen to run across this at some point.
Oh my god.
I would argue that microbes should be exempt from this, but they are technically animals.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. See, I hadn't even thought of this stuff. You're
knowing
totally
how
blowing my
like
mind.
Bannable like some of the things that we've done have been, I'm like, oh, we're super small. We're super it's making me feel
but like Danielle said, it's all about like, did somebody like swoop in that isn't really part of your community and just start freaking out and reporting you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing to watch out for. But how are you gonna know, you know?
Back to the hot tubs, right? Yeah, exactly, Yappo.
I've been lucky when it comes with like trolls and all that. I've probably had only 3 or 4 people over the course of almost 5 years that were actually like trying to troll or anything like in there, because usually I kind of like it because I intentionally misread trolls. And it gives me an opportunity to do something and then not pay attention to anything else they say as I take their original thing, intentionally misinterpret it to then talk about something I really wanted to talk about and act like I'm teaching them something when I really just want to talk about this other thing for the rest of chat. It's kind of funny. People have trouble trolling me because I'm too weird for them.
I love that. I love that. Never let the trolls get you down.
Or I like
Always.
my friends trying to do their own version of trolling like I do. It's
Oh,
just
sure.
misinterpreting things, intentional wordplay, and all that. I'm big on intentional misinterpretation.
That leads to the most fun conversations, I think.
Hmm.
Especially because, yeah, there are times when I've had people like just, they just want to be a troll or whatever. They're just for no reason. They don't really know you or what you're about, but they make it seem like they do, and they're coming after you. And then like the times when you can
I know
like
exactly what you're talking about.
when you can like respond in a way that actually turns them into like somebody who hangs out and wants to be there, and you realize
Yeah.
like that was all a front, and you totally change their whole perspective and attitude. Like that's my favorite thing. I love that so much. And it always surprises me too. You never know who it's going to be.
My general philosophy is when people are surfing through doing that, they typically are either very young or they're someone that has they have a lack of attention in their life and they're going to try to get it however they can. And this is just a way that this comes from my philosophy of working with children as well, and children that are acting out.
Yeah.
And that if I can turn their attempt at negativity into something fun and positive, then you might be giving them the only positive social interaction they've gotten in their day. And with that
That's
whole
such a
idea
good
of feedback loops and
point.
social interaction,
Yes.
I'm always cognizant of how we affect other people in our interactions. And I view that kind of as an opportunity when it occurs.
Oh, wow.
And viewing
That's
things as an opportunity allows me to kind of disassociate myself and things being said about me, because I think of my stream as the attention on what I'm doing and what's happening, not the attention on me. Yeah, I'll stop that ramble right there.
no, that's perfect. That totally makes sense to me now, though. If you're interacting with so many different students of different ages at different
Hmm.
development stages too, you're going to have different kinds of trolling going on there, or different kinds of
Exactly.
behavior issues, and you seem to have a lot of experience that gives you a lot of tools to deal with the online space because of that.
I learned a lot of that pivot strategy with Knox, and their mutual friend Tom Thinks does the live animation type stream. So a lot of people roll into there and have no idea what's going on. Will
Yeah.
throw out something that's totally inappropriate or off topic or attempt at troll, and he can just very sometimes just probably not even intending to misread what someone said, but then just take it into a spin-off idea, draw a little fake cartoon here. And now they're in silly mode. People are like, what? This is live. Da, da, da. This guy's funny, actually. I shouldn't have tried to troll.
Oh wow. Yes, that's amazing. I love that. I haven't seen anybody doing live animation. You're opening me up to all these different categories of checking out streamers, because I've the world of the Shrimp Guild and the music and the improv and the electronic stuff, like I feel like I haven't found the end of that yet.
Yep.
So I just
I don't
keep
know that there
digging
is an
deeper.
end.
There's no end. But then as we keep meeting people, right, like yourself, who are doing things that kind of have a blend of something else, and then that leads you to other people who are doing things that you're like, whoa, you're doing this on stream? Like, I never would have thought of that. That's so cool. It I think inspires, what we do with music too.
Exactly.
All feeds back. It's a feedback loop.
Hmm. And
Everything.
that also gives me a lot of appreciation for people doing music and like what's the other thing that's going to mix various communities that would otherwise never meet each other. And one thing I noted from your VOD is you've started to reading streams, and that's kind of where I started. And I will make a note, definitely use the Twitch tag reading aloud. There are a lot of people that hang out in reading streams that are blind, that are
Oh.
looking for something like that to listen to and socialize in a chat room.
Oh my God, thank you so much for saying that, because I just started it this week. I've only done a couple of them, and I was sort of like, I don't know what category this should be in. Should I hide in just chatting like I normally do, or is this really something that should open myself up to a little bit more and find the right, tag for it. So thank you for saying that. Because I'm having a good time. I feel like I would be doing it even if I wasn't, nobody was there, because I'm having such a good time with it.
Just be careful. Some of my sci-fi has almost accidentally had me say things that might be things I would not want to be recorded saying.
100%. That is like one of my big things. Is the first time
These
I
two
did
books are the
this-
prime culprits.
Exactly. The
Robert Anton Wilson stuff.
Yes. Oh my God. So true. We have this collection of short stories that's, I think, is it all female writers? Yeah. So it's a collection of all female writers from, the 30s through the like 80s of sci-fi. And I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to read this on stream. This is going to be great. And I got like a couple pages into one and was like, okay, we got some race stuff going on here. I don't want to say. We've got some, some building of worlds.
Yeah, it was like Dumbo. It was bad.
It was very bad. And it just kept going. I was like, oh, it's just this one thing, and then I'll move past it. I just won't say it, and then we'll move past it. I was like, oh, the whole story is really just fueling this whole concept, and I just can't read this. So that was a real eye opener of like, okay, I'm reading a more modern one right now. It's got some things that I'm just sort of like, well, this is some cussing or whatever, or just like silly sexual stuff, but it hasn't gotten like as because it's not from like the 40s or 50s. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
That was a big barrier. But I was like, oh, I love retro sci-fi, but maybe I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe I think
if
I
you're
do.
ever looking for any recommendations for on-stream reading things, one of my favorites are a lot of the short story forms, since people can hop in and out on there.
Oh, that's
and
a good idea.
my all-time favorite for that on stream is just a book called The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. Just
Ooh.
nothing but short stories. Ken Liu is the translator for the Three Body Problem, but he does a lot of his own writing that's very different character from Three Body. And he put the whole thing online, so I don't feel bad reading it
Wonderful.
online.
That's a great point.
Like Nebula Award winner, it's fantastic stuff.
Yes, Belter Patois is the most problematic aspect of reading it aloud. Celluloid. I haven't gotten into too much of that yet. I'm bracing myself. Gotta stay on the right side of doing charter. Exactly. Yeah, that's something that I'm bracing myself for. I'm gonna try to figure out how to do that in a creative way. But I love the idea of like the short stories and things that are like already in the collective copyright wise. We started collecting old Galaxy magazine. That is,
I don't know the name
okay.
though.
Just the like 50s, 60s sci-fi magazine filled with short stories.
A lot of Isaac Asimov shorts and
That sounds amazing.
things to that nature. Yeah, just
And the
collections of
illustrations are
shorts.
beyond.
The
so.
illustrations are amazing.
I haven't read those just because I'm like, they're kind of, I don't want to like
They could go south.
page through them too much and have them disintegrate.
Oh, that too, yeah.
They could go
Do you
south,
guys
yeah.
ever do anything on stream with the illustrations to these stories too?
No, see, that's another thing we haven't really done any visuals on stream. It's all just been
Because
lighting.
anytime you want to talk about remixing pictures into video elements and all that, that's something that I love doing, experimenting with people.
Oh, that's cool, because Gus has been, when we first got them, he was doing like high-res scans of them.
In high res, we're talking like the best my shitty printer could do.
All right. To me, it seemed amazing. I was like, wow.
They did come out pretty good to my surprise, but
It was better than like if I took a picture with my phone.
it was scanning,
scanned it.
it was an actual scan, which was nice compared to trying to take a photo.
That's awesome.
But I never thought about doing anything with it.
We just used,
We used it as to like create like a inspiration board for our album that we were working on.
Yeah.
But we didn't ever do anything with the actual.
As we should.
As you were talking about their stuff, my brain does when it's just idea generators. Like, oh, what if while you were reading, you're doing music, then you also had some of the images from there, but then they were transformed to scroll across in OBS and do some weird thing. So images from different parts of the story or the previous story are coming through. I'm always...
I love that.
I love that.
I love the way
Push
your
an
brain
idea.
works. Yes. I think I just, when I run up against something that I'll get like overwhelmed about implementation, I just stop in my tracks. But I'm really glad that like having to learn OBS was part of doing Twitch, because I never would have. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I can run OBS, no big deal, you know? But when we first started, I was like, I have to learn an open source software? Like, what? I'm not going to know how to do this. And now I'm like, oh, I love this. It's so like user friendly, and I can, obviously it crashes all the time, but just all of the way that it actually works and the things that you can do with it and the way you use it is just like, to me, it's like a video game.
Exactly. It has turned into one of my favorite creative software tools of all.
Exactly.
OBS.
Yeah.
Maybe never want to use a video off editing software suite again. It's like, I just want to do crazy things in one take in OBS.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see how you would get there.
Absolutely.
I definitely feel like your offer to talk about that more is something I should not shy away from, as I normally would be like, oh, no, I don't want to take your time. You know, I'm not worthy. But that does sound like the next frontier for us.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because like what you said, you know, made me think about it more as like, you know, an improvisational tool as well as a streaming software. So I like the way that that's going.
And the moment things dig into a video feedback loop, then it's like, okay, now I feel like I'm running a video synthesizer with all this too.
That's where the magic happens with video synthesizers as well, as I'm learning. Cool.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be the next thing. I know people they come to our streams and like, cool, what visual stuff are you doing? And I'm like, I'm a musician. And they're like, but you're on Twitch, so you should be doing all this other like technological stuff.
You're on Twitch. What video game are you playing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the first question you usually get asked.
Oh gosh, Noiseworks wants your feedback secrets. Same. We all want it. And I like Celluloid. Thank you for that recommendation. I like that as well.
So speaking of feedback, I'll note Noiseworks was one of the very first people ever hanging out on my stream when I was just using the synth and the Moog. I figured out that the Moog cluster flux has something on the back of it called a feedback insert that I'd never learned how to use before. And I've been looking into like, how do feedback inserts work? I'm like, this is amazing. So now my whole idea of running feedback loops, there's some crazy things happening there now too.
So just to get a little bit nerdy about it, that feedback insert, would you use like a TRS cable, like with a Y breakout, and like run effects into the feedback path and then back into the device? Wow, that's cool.
That's exactly how.
So you could like
and
filter
what I was doing
your feedback and stuff like that. Yeah, wow.
The first two things the cluster flux is, of course, the super fancy Bucket Brigade chorus that goes into delay territory. And in its feedback that goes into the Bucket Brigade chain, I first tried running the QPOS filter right there. Which is amazing in that feedback insert. And then I did the Moog Murph, the filter array. Also amazing. Like that, things get chaotic and out of control with some of the resonance, but I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Because things get too out of control on this, I just hit filter on the 505, and now I'm not torching it.
One of my favorite new discoveries is running a delay trail into a frequency shifter and then back. And that can get into some really weird, like just, you know, like droid sounds and stuff.
I need to try that. I've only ever had one device that messes with frequency, and that's the Earthquaker device's organizer pedal. It's pipe organ simulation. Do an octave above, 2 octaves above, and then 3, 4 chorused octaves above and below.
That could be really interesting.
It's one of I use it almost like a mixer in my effect chain, where I can bring in the dry signal as much as I want, or just, I only want the reverb acting on 2 octaves above my signal. So I just turn on the top end of the pipe organ. And then I have a fake shimmer verb.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Love that. There's always so much to explore with the gear that we have. And I think that's why I'm like, well, I don't only have so many arms and hands and brains to then also be doing that with visuals at the same time.
Well, we got 2 hands for 1 keyboard, 1 set of controls or a loop. We got 2 feet for 2 expression pedals.
I need to bring my feet
Then we got an
into it.
elbow for a theremin antenna.
Yes.
And then we can leave our arpeggiator running up front and reach over to the microscope and twist.
Yes, you have so much going on. It's so impressive. Do you go in with like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do on my stream today, or
Nope.
No. I didn't think so.
I have a ritual. I get ready for my evening streams. I shower. Clean. The microscope takes about 45 minutes to clean up all the optics and mix all the chemicals and all that stuff, get things crystallizing. And then I switch to my colored lights, turn off all the normal lights. This is also my work desk. I got to get into creative mode.
Oh, wow.
And then I sit there and I try to play music for about an hour. Wow. And if I'm feeling it, I go live. If I'm not feeling it, I don't go.
Wow.
Probably go live about 1/3 of the time.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy to know that. That's a very cool ritual because you're getting to like have something for yourself too.
Because if I don't go live, that just means I'm going to go into hardcore exploratory mode, try to figure out new tricks, or try to understand a parameter in a device that I've never explored before.
Yes.
But otherwise, if I'm feeling that I have the social energy and am enjoying what I'm playing, that's the ultimate hard line, is I have to enjoy what I'm playing before I go live. If I'm not, I never go live.
That's a good rule. I like that because a lot of times we're sort of like running from one thing to the next and just trying to do the best sound check we can before we just go live. Because otherwise, if I think about it, I would never go live probably ever. So I try to make it like a thing that's like scheduled. And if I tell everybody we're going to go live, then it makes me like have to do it. And then whatever happens while we're live is like the joy of doing it. And then that's what I get out of it. But
that's why I sign up for raid trains.
Yeah, exactly.
It forces me to go live when all my self-doubt tells me you shouldn't go live. And 90% of the time it goes well, or in my opinion, it goes well.
We have different parameters for what going well means. Exactly. Oh, thanks for being here, Knox. Gus has to go to work, so we actually do have to run as well. So thank you, Knox, for bringing us to how do we close this conversation? Could go on forever and ever, and I really appreciate you being here with us.
Well, I think the way we close it is we say until next time.
Yes, until next time. Exactly. This was so amazing. I do feel like I'm lit up with so much that I want to explore.
Until next time, and we'll be in touch about sending you stuff.
And we want to send you
Absolutely.
stuff. And then I'm obviously...
I love collaborating with people about all sorts of weird things.
Yes.
That just gives us a little bit of purpose to our beach visits, and we do try to make them frequently at all times of the year.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's going to give us even more reason to go do it and to try different beaches.
Yep.
Oh, it was so good to meet everyone from your world that came into this chat as well. Thank you. Thank you all so much. I do want to make sure, I'm sure everyone is already following you on Twitch here, but there is an Instagram and a YouTube to check out as well. And make sure you're clicking all those links to get sucked into OpenSet's universe.
Absolutely. If anybody's ever curious what a jam sounds like with samples of herring farts from a scientific research paper, it's on YouTube. Herring fart sounds like a snare drum, by the way.
I've always wondered. Now I know. Oh, thank you for the follow, Evan. I'm glad we're connected now. I have a lot of questions about your chatbot stuff that we were talking about. For sure. So, when is your next stream? Do you have anything scheduled?
It is tomorrow night. Tomorrow at 1 a.m. Tomorrow night at 1 a.m. Eastern for the Jedi Friends Raid Train right after Targus songs.
Oh, cool. The Jedi Friends Raid Train. Good shout out for that. That's great. So definitely, hey, Mitchell. I know that I linked this already, but I love an actual shout out. So just make sure that you're plugged into OpenSet and here on Twitch specifically, and check out the Jedi Friends Raid Train tomorrow. I'm excited to be able to jump into that. Raid Trains have such good energy. It's always so fun. So thank you again so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And
absolutely, it was a great time.
Had a fantastic time.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Can't wait to do it again. We'll see you around the Twitchiverse.
Sounds great.
All right, friends, we are going to...
swiftly exit.
We are going to raid. Oh, what's exploding? Oh, sorry. Our emote explosion is taking over. Thank you all for being here. This was like probably one of the most lively chats we've had that I had a hard time. I did not grab everything. I didn't grab every question. So feel free to throw stuff in the Discord if you felt like you didn't get your question answered. We definitely didn't do that intentionally. We're just, you know, the multitasking that we always talk about of keeping up with the conversation and the chat and bringing all those wavelengths together is a skill I'm still working on.
I wanted to mention that if you are in the greater LA area and, you know, you want to hang out sometime, I do work at Perfect Circuit in Burbank. So come say hi.
Amazing. I think that's so cool of you to say. If you're visiting, coming through.
Yeah, even visiting,
here.
coming through. If you ever find yourself there, you know, I'm there, you know, a lot. I'm there a lot.
He's there a lot.
The chances of you running into me there are pretty high.
And if you would like to be part of helping him not be there a lot, the Vortex is a great place to support us. Obviously, we always appreciate all our subs here on Twitch, but we have created a vortex, a portal, if you will, to further support and engage our creative process and everything that we're doing here with our podcasts and our albums and secret music that we don't release and sample packs and everything like that. We really appreciate everyone who is part of that vortex. You're a big part of why we're able to even do this stuff that we do. So thank you all so much for your support. Perfect Circuit, yes, yeah. It's a fun little community center for synth enthusiasts, if you will. And we're very appreciative.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah,
honestly,
having a good time there. Obviously, you know, if there were
it's a cool place to work.
48 hours in a day, it'd be great to work there and do this. You know. As we like to say. So I'm going to throw us into solid BPM stream now. So hopefully you'll join us as we raid in. I'm trying to think of when we're streaming again. I think it's going to be Sunday. They deal in many chaotic circuits, aim for perfection in my voltage. Oh, that's funny, OpenSet. That is a really funny thing I never thought about. The perfect circuit.
It's an old name at this point.
It's outdated. We needed to say chaotic circuit. Somebody needs to open chaotic circuit.
Over 10 years at this point.
Amazing. I love it. Well, we'll keep that in mind as inspiration. I think, we'll see you all on Sunday for the Shrimp Raid Train. Check out OpenSet tomorrow for Jedi Friends Raid Train, and we'll see you in Solid's stream. Have an amazing day, evening, wherever you are, time zone wise. Everybody, thanks for doing this experimental stream with us. We really appreciate it.